Hello everyone, my name is Purav. I'm a master's student at the New Media Design Department at the National Institute of Design in India. The game I'll be presenting today is called Tread Together. Tread Together is an interactive narrative gameplay to introspect and scrutinize privilege. The conception of this game emerged from something that transpired in my own country, India, during the global pandemic that plunged all of us into unimaginable circumstances. Pursuant to this very pandemic, a nationwide lockdown was implemented in India that prompted the mandatory closure of all factories and workplaces. India has an estimated 139 million migrant workers that are often denied adequate healthcare, nutrition, housing, and sanitation. Transportation systems were initially shut. There was loss of income accompanied by acute shortage of food. And with growing uncertainty about their future, thousands of migrants began walking back thousands of kilometers with no recourse to travel options, resulting in harrowing journeys back home. The shocking images of migrants forced to walk back in desperation showed the enormity of the crisis. Subsequently, in the same interim, in a conversation about the then ongoing lockdown, a friend of mine expressed their displeasure at the inability to go to the gym for their daily cardio on a treadmill. The dichotomy of these two instances and the realization that we can sometimes be very oblivious to our own privilege is what prompted the design of this game. There are several exercises like privilege walks that are used as a tool to identify how individuals accrue privilege or acknowledge its lack thereof. These are contingent on sharing of personal encounters and proximity to privilege. Through initial research, it was observed that privilege walks rely on people with marginalized experiences to create recognition and understanding in the privileged participants of the exercise. Often, these moments of sharing can be shame riddled and possibly create a divide among participating individuals. Tread Together provides a better resolution where these realizations are implicit and independent of undesirable experiences. Tread Together is an interactive narrative that uses walking as the primary mode of interaction. Players must walk or sprint on a treadmill so as to progress within the game. In addition to walking, players also use two buttons that allow them to navigate various choices and in turn unfold divergent outcomes. The game begins with multiple statements displayed on the screen. Players must either press a blue or a red button to indicate agreement or disagreement with those statements, respectively. Responses to these statements provide data towards self evaluation of privilege status. Following this, players are introduced to a context. They must assume a new identity within the game as a proverbial rebirth to a lower privilege status. In this case, as a child to a poor farmer in rural India, and must now make decisions given this precondition. Players walk through the game world and are informed of key events within the game. Eventually, the game leads the player to a critical circumstance where they must make a choice. In this case, the player must choose to either drop out of school or work alongside to support their family and education. With different choices that a player makes, certain affordances are also presented to them. Much like real life, players can choose to supersede their hindrances in the game by augmenting their capabilities by sprinting at higher speeds. The gameplay may end in one of two ways. First, where the player reaches the end of the narrative, or second, where the user stops the game due to exhaustion. In both these instances, players are shown a comparative of their current position within the game. For example, whether their character is unemployed, has considerable student debt, etc., and the position they would have achieved had they been afforded the privilege they possess in real life, in addition to the time disparity between their assumed character and their real identity owing to their privilege. With strict lockdown restrictions imposed in my native city of Mumbai, prototyping and user testing the game was increasingly difficult. Albeit limited, user testing was carried out to inform the design of the gameplay and hardware since the conception of the gameplay and the paper. Privilege permeates nearly every facet of human existence, and yet we seem to barely recognize its role in what are seemingly impartial outcomes. Tread Together aims at facilitating the acceptance and critique of privilege in society and explores the modality of a provocation to initiate conversations and alleviate stigma around the concept. Thank you.